today. Castriot.
My name is Councillor Castriot Burbury. I'm a councillor for Forest Ward and I'm a member of this committee. Thank you, subcommittee.
Thank you. Councillor Imre.
My name is Shazimet Palta Imre. I am the councillor for Chingford Green Ward and I am the member of this committee.
Thank you. Officers.
Good morning. My name is Chris Foxton, Democratic Services, one of the clerks to the Licensing Committee.
Jenny.
Morning. My name is Jenny Richards. I'm Democratic Services Officer and I'm one of the other clerks in the meeting.
Thank you. Ralph.
Good morning. My name is Ralph Luaz. I'm the Environmental Health Enforcement Officer, particularly in relation to noise, and I report to Mark Witham.
Thank you. Darren.
Hi, I'm Darren Riley, Licensing Manager. I'm here if needed by Mark.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I'm Mark Whittam. I'm the Service Manager for Regulatory Services, and I currently have line management control for the Council's Environmental Pollution and Air Quality team.
Thank you. And Michael?
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to be the legal advisor to the committee. I don't take any role in the decision that the committee takes. It is their decision, but I do help write up their decision.
Thank you. And Sherman?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sherman Xavier from the licensing team. I'll be presenting the report today.
Thank you. And we also have Susan.
Chair, just currently observing.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Chair.
I think that's everyone apart from the applicant. Mr. Hewitt, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm Adam Hewitt. I work with an organisation called Don Sinclair Reggae Vibes, which has applied to for the licence today to put on the event.
Thank you very much. Okay, now the committee lawyer is going to outline the procedure we follow today. Michael?
So is that for me? Yeah, I'm happy to do so. So the agenda sets out the council's procedure. So first, the licensing officer will present the report. And then the chair, so Councillor Littlejohn, will call for all parties to present their case. So the responsible authorities will put forward their objections, calling any witnesses, and then the applicant will have a chance to put forward their case. The chair will then call for all parties to sum up their case, first the responsible authorities, then the applicant, and then the subcommittee will retire to make its decision. When the responsible authorities put their case, there may be questions from the subcommittee. There may also be questions from the applicant. And likewise, when the applicant puts his case, there may be questions from the subcommittee and there may be questions from the responsible authorities.
Thank you very much, Michael. Okay, so let's hear the licensing officer's report. I believe that's Sherman is doing that for us. Yep. Thank you, Sherman.
Thank you, Chair. A temporary event notice under Section 100 of the Licensing Act 2003 was submitted by Mr. Adam Hewitt in respect of Gangs Unite CIC 60 Uplands Business Park, Blackhorse Lane, London E17 5QJ. The notice seeks to permit regulated entertainment, the provision of late night refreshment, and the sale by retail of alcohol on sales as detailed within Appendix A. The event is proposed to take place outside the premises on the 29th to the 30th of October 2022 from 1400 hours to midnight, where the maximum number of attendees at any one time will be 499 people at the planned event. The Environmental Health Service have lodged an objection notice on the grounds of the prevention of public nuisance, which can be found in Appendix B, within 3 working days of the receipt of the notice. Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003 requires where an objection notice is given in respect of a temporary event notice, the licensing authority must hold a hearing to consider that objection. When determining a notice, the licensing authority may take into consideration all 4 licensing objectives. The committee is therefore respectfully asked to give due consideration to the police objection, to the noise team objection notice, and to comments made by the premises user, and to decide whether to allow the licensable activities to go ahead as stated in the notice, or it can decide that the event will undermine the licensing objectives and should not take place. In this case, a counter notice must be given, which includes the reasons for the decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Now I'm going to ask, I believe it's Ralph, is going to put forward the objections.
Thank you. Good morning.
No, Hello, Chair. It's Mark Whittam. I'll put forward the objections. I've asked Ralph to attend. Ralph's just returned from leave today, so isn't fully up to speed with some of the developments that have taken place with regards to this temporary event notice and the cancellation. But I have asked Ralph to attend, as he will be able to provide technical advice if it's required. I've also asked Darren Riley to attend, who visited the site on the evening of the 21st of August and witnessed one of the events taking place.
Okay.
So,
thank you, Mark. Sorry, did you want to?
Yes, thank you. So Environmental Health became aware of an event that had taken place on the 23rd or 24th of July following the receipt of 5 noise complaints regarding intrusive music from residents in the Blackhorse Road, Blackhorse Lane area of Walthamstow. Our records indicated that no temporary event notice had been submitted for an event, so at first we had difficulty ascertaining the source of the noise. However, inquiries did reveal that Gangs Unite had held an event in the car park outside their premises over the course of that weekend. Officers visited on the 26th of July to find the premises closed, and then again on the 1st of August, where they spoke to a Mr. Colin James regarding the event of the previous weekend, the probable licensing requirements of such events and the noise disturbance the event had created. Mr. James acknowledged that the event had taken place. On the 12th of August, a temporary event notice was received from Mr. James for an event to take place on the 21st of August 2022 between 3 p.m. and 11 p.m. The event was described as a fundraising event, and the temporary event notice requested to authorise the sale of alcohol and the provision of regulated entertainment. In light of the previous advice that had been given on the 1st of August, and in the spirit of TENS receiving a light touch approach, the TEN was not opposed by environmental health officers. However, the licensing manager, Darren Riley, attended the event at 10:30 p.m. to carry out a proactive assessment. He assessed that the event was extremely loud, with police already in attendance, as they had received complaints regarding the noise. Over the course of the following days, the council received 9 further complaints regarding noise, as well as inquiries submitted by elected representatives. The complaints all highlighted the volume of the music as an issue, with one complainant living half a mile away from the event site. Concerns were also raised regarding dispersal and the revving of engines after the event had finished. The applicant has since provided information indicated that they will have professionals monitoring the equipment at the event scheduled for the 29th of October, and suggested that the issues on the 21st of August may have been caused by 3 competing sound systems. They have also yesterday provided a noise management plan. Unfortunately, they have not yet taken any background readings or providing any predictive noise measurement levels at noise-sensitive receptors, nor given any information regarding how different music frequencies will be controlled to prevent noise nuisance. In light of the previous widespread disturbance and lack of information provided regarding noise control measures, we remain concerned that should this event proceed, the residents living in the vicinity will experience another day of disruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And do you want to call any witnesses?
No, I will do if there are questions that are pertinent to the points that are raised. Then perhaps I will refer to my witnesses at that point. As I say, Ralph for technical expertise and Darren as to what he witnessed on the evening of the 21st of August.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, so the subcommittee members, and Castriot, good to see you've managed to get into the meeting. Welcome. Do you have any questions for Mark or or the two experts? And Councillor Imre, do you have any questions? Okay, I have some.
No questions. No questions.
No questions. Okay, thank you. I have a few questions, which maybe this is for Ralph to respond to, about noise management. Now, it's quite a technical matter, and I see there is a noise management plan which involves monitoring noise at a number of locations around the site, and I'm just wondering, is that sufficient? And Mark has indicated that's not, because there's not been a sort of any background noise checks. What is your view, Ralph, of the noise management plan? Is it going to be sufficient for noise to be controlled in a way that will satisfy us and the authority and residents nearby?
Thank you, Chair. My answer to that directly is, in its present form, it is not sufficient. There is not enough information about the noise that would be generated in terms of the volume, in terms of the individual frequencies, in particular the bass frequencies. Those predictive noise levels need to be produced or need to be considered, because they relate to the measuring points, the monitoring locations, and they would need, in fact, the locations will need to be looked at. I'm not so sure right now if it covers all the potential noise sensitive premises in the area. So we certainly need predictive noise levels at the front of house where they are producing the noise, and also what levels they expect to be received at the receiving points at the noise sensitive premises. So without that, and without some kind of background noise survey to say what the background level is currently, and how those proposed levels will impinge or affect or relate to the background noise levels, because those the differences in looking at those two areas will decide whether complaints are likely and whether the objectives are going to be met or not. So really, the noise management plan needs to be populated with good acoustic noise control information and detail.
Thank you, Ralph. Councillor Berbery, have you any questions?
No, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hewitt, do you have any questions of Mark Whittam or Ralph?
Yeah, just about what's expected in the noise management plan. If I could just list what my notes are here, just for future reference. But background noise. So we need to do a background noise survey. So I'd actually have to go onto site with the doing it and actually take and with this background noise survey, is that sensitive to the time and day it would be done? So really, I should be doing that around the similar time on a Saturday that the event would take place.
Yes, that would be what we'd expect. If you do a survey of the background noise levels, that would represent the times that you want to hold the event. That would be what we'd expect to see.
Okay, great. And information about the noise that would be generated. So this would be the sort of music and what frequencies are really going to come out and how we're going to manage those frequencies. I'm guessing with the complaints you got, it was mostly bass or like sub frequencies that people were complaining about overall on the day of the last tens.
They don't necessarily specify the type of music, the type of frequencies. You know, they're lay people, residents. They wouldn't be expected to provide that level of detail, but they were being disturbed by music, but that's what we would hope that your noise management plan would tease out what frequencies are likely to cause a disturbance and how you would manage those frequencies.
Yeah, great. And with the and so just with the predicted noise levels, I suppose the way we come up with that is we look at the ambient noise, look how much more could we add to this without it causing a disturbance, say that distance from the road, and so it's really like an estimate of how we come up with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether how much knowledge you have in terms of acoustics, but it would be helpful if the background noise levels were measured, and you consider what levels you're going to produce. I mean, the sound levels, so it's the overall volume of music, but also the bass frequencies. And you relate it to the background noise level. I'm not sure if you've got any details about the music that you're going to be playing, at what volumes.
I don't know at what volumes as of yet, but I suppose it would be loud enough to be in the space. Yeah. But we will be having a system where we can adjust. The sound technician will be in control of the sound system. It won't be like the last event where I think the DJs probably were on the same sound system, where they had volume control and they were just sort of turning up others. But yeah, if that's all the points, I can kind of look into those and go over that with our team. But so I don't have any further questions regarding that.
Okay, Mr. Hewitt, do you have any further questions then?
No.
Okay, thanks. So, Mr. Hewitt, it's now an opportunity for you to put forward your case and to call any witnesses you have. Okay.
Okay, great. I don't actually have any witnesses, but so I think probably the last event that had a 10 was I came down early in the day and met Colin, and that was where we kind of like looked at the opportunity of doing something. As far as the event we're putting on, we will have different DJs playing, all one sound system, a sound system called Wave Research, which is my friend's company. This will be one sound system, and it will be sort of we're going to be, well, we started putting together a noise management plan. I don't quite have a full understanding of how a noise management plan would go together, but his company works at a lot of venues doing similar things. So I was sort of going to take more guidance off him, but I haven't got around to that. And also, I think the bit that was probably led, because the fact that it's on an industrial estate, sort of away from residents, when I saw the space, it seemed like a good place in London to put on an event, because it usually don't get a space like that so far from residents. With the last event, I think the main thing was because it was 3 sound systems, as in 3 different people bringing their own sound system, and then they were all kind of turning up one another to sort of compete with each other in between. I think that was probably one of the big factors. So I suppose my main sort of argument about what I'm putting on is that will be the main difference, that it will be controlled rather than multiple people. And once I get to sort of do the noise thing, I feel that it would go a lot smoother. I think for now that's all the kind of points I have about why our own event would be different. I don't know if anyone has any further questions.
I think so. It would be for the councillors to ask questions, but just because you are unrepresented, I just wonder if we could perhaps have some clarity. So you've referred to the previous 10. Is that the 10 on the 21st of August?
Yes, that would be one that was applied for on the 21st of August. Yes.
Okay. What was your involvement in that 10? Was that an event that you ran?
No, that wasn't anything to do with me. That was we saw that there was an event on that space, and it was near to where the director of my company lives. So we phoned Colin the day before to go down and have a look. I had work later the day, so I was only there a couple of hours. But it was more just to see the space and see what was going on. And then when he said he could get permission, like a useful place to do an event in London, where it's difficult to find a spot outside where you can put on an event.
Okay. And then you've also given an email, I think, with Patrick O'Donnell.
Yes.
Just wondering, just for the benefit of the committee, if you could perhaps explain what that email shows, because I know it does refer to an event on Sunday, the 11th of September, and I see that's evidence you put before the committee. Again, I don't want to overstep any bounds, but perhaps you might explain to the committee what that is.
Yeah, so that's email from a company called Perception Live that subcontracts my friend's company, who also builds the sound system, who owns part of the sound system. Basically, that was for Hackney Carnival, which actually didn't go ahead, but it was them looking for people to, I think it was like noise technicians that were going to monitor noise around Hackney Carnival to make sure people were staying within limits. And I sort of use that as evidence because that's going to be the company that were asked to monitor Hackney Carnival were the people I'm bringing down to help manage noise at my event, as well as the same people that were running the sound system. So I just thought it was useful to add that to show they're not sort of like just reaching as far as that goes. It's then sort of got people that know what they're doing.
Okay, that's really helpful. Just so the committee has it, I mean, do you have any kind of confirmation that they are actually going to be running the sound system? Just because we have this email from you to Perception Live, but we don't actually have the response from Perception Live.
Well, no. So that was the email I got sent to kind of confirm it. It was more that this was sort of a week or two before, and then we've got a WhatsApp group for technicians in London. A few technicians confirmed work that shift. Then once Hackney Carnival was cancelled, there was no further talk. I don't know if there was information after that email. But yeah, so I don't think there was further confirmation after that email because it was cancelled.
Okay, and just in terms of and finally, and then I will shut up. Hopefully, this is helpful for the committee. But I see you've described the event as, we are putting on a reggae showcase in celebration of Black History Month. This will be a free event where we will donate a portion of bar profits to the Gangs Unite CIC organisation to support them in the work that they do for the community. Could you perhaps explain to the committee, sort of like what vision you have for the event? I mean, it's up to you how you present your application, but it might be helpful for the council to understand where you're coming from with this event. And then after that, councillors ask their own questions. But I think it was important just to draw that out.
Yeah, so it's basically a continuance of so last year for Black History Month, we put on an event at Newham Town Hall, which is sort of the older generation sound systems around London that kind of would play across the day, as well as some younger ones. And our plan with this event is basically to do the same thing. This year we didn't get funding to do it at the Stratford Town Hall. And then when Colin's thing came up, we thought that'd be a good opportunity to do an event together. And as he was sort of kind enough to let us use the space, we thought we'd just donate whatever the portion of what we make on the bar to his organisation. And so I suppose on the ground, it will basically be I think about 6 sound systems that play over the day, and one that will be playing sort of like a tape deck tracks through a sound system. And that will be basically it. There'll be people on the microphone, but there won't be any artists performing or band stuff. And then there'll be a licensed bar, and
Hopefully that was helpful to the councillors. So we can now resume with the procedure, which is that the councillors have questions, and then the responsible authorities can also ask questions.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Councillor Berberi, you have a question.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Hewitt, I've got a question for you. Could you please list any of noise mitigating actions or measures appropriate for the proposed outdoor music event?
Noise. Yeah, so we're going to be, I've forgotten the name of it, but we're going to be using this unit that will sort of react and turn down the DJs if they start turning up high. And that will be part of the install of the actual sound system. In the noise management plan, I said that we were happy to, we would, let me just find it. So, I mean, we'd look at the noise location. I mean, I can't on the map of where the best places would be in sort of from what I thought, but from the meeting today, it seems like that could do a bit more research to find all the best parts. And we were going to take measurements from each of these points every hour, as well as taking reading.
Breaking up just a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit.
If I look at the phone up here, is that slightly better?
That is better.
Yeah, okay, great.
Stops and then starts. So perhaps if you spoke a little bit slower, that
yeah,
might.
Sure. Yeah, so we will be so we would take measurements from the points around the site where we thought noise complaints would happen, which is shown in the noise management plan we sent. And the idea would be to monitor this every hour, which I think is a reasonable amount of time to stop it kind of getting too far out of control. And then we would also be taking these measurements from the front of house position and trying to maintain it at the same level, which is whatever level we find is appropriate. As far as mitigating, I mean, there was also a level of what I've spoken to people that have done this before about when people make complaints, is they would have this procedure where they would take an ambient noise level and measure that again, take an ambient noise measurement, and then the same measurement, and then the measurement of what's been like the noise at that point. The noise at that point at the time of the complaint, and then you to kind of use that as a measure to see how much we would need to turn down, like what percentage, because they're obviously used to hearing a certain amount of noise from traffic and stuff. So that would kind of give us two, I suppose, data points, so we know at that point a complaint was made, how much we need to turn down by. What else is there? Noise mitigating. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's mainly the thing. It's just understanding the level we need to be at, monitoring it to make sure it stays at that level, and being reactive and flexible to complaints that may happen over the event. Those were the sort of key points as far as mitigating noise.
Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. Councillor Berberi, have you any more questions? No, I take that for a no. Councillor Imre, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. I have a few, because I'm still a bit unclear about your noise management plan. You talk about appropriate level of noise.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering what that is, how you know what that is. I'm just wondering, I get the impression you've managed events like this before, but indoors and not in outdoor spaces. Is that correct? That's my second question. And my third question is, how many you've mentioned 6 sound systems, and I take it they would be playing one after the other, not all at the same time. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if I could just start on the last point. Yeah, sorry, I say sound systems just because that's sort of the, I guess, like colloquial term But what I've essentially mean as a sound system is more like, when I say that, I mean more like a team. So they're basically DJs. They're all on one sound system. There'll be one sound system present.
One DJ after another.
It's sorry, yeah, I could have made that more clear. It'll be one sound system, 6 teams of DJs, let's say.
Okay, thank you.
As far as the outdoor spaces, yeah, I've done a lot of events indoors, both working as a kind of sound engineer and lighting technician, as well as promoting events. We have done a couple outdoors, but they were in venues that were already open air venues and already had all the things in place. So it was more the venues that were managing whatever was going on as far as turning up or turning down. And sorry, and the first question again, that was
appropriate levels of noise.
Appropriate levels, yeah.
Where do you start from with that? I mean, what's appropriate?
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't actually had time to go down and do any measurements, but the appropriate level, I would assume, would be go down at a similar time the event would be on and take ambient noise readings of what the traffic light is like and that sort of level at that time of day. And then when we play the sound system or turn it on, figure out how loud we can go without disrupting what the ambient level of noise already is in that area, say at that like half a mile away point, or just like on the road where it goes into residencies. That was my understanding anyway. But if one of the noise management team kind of have any other approaches, that'd be great to hear.
Okay, can I just come back to that, because I'm getting the impression you're thinking, I mean, from what you've just said, the noise would not go over and above the ambient noise in the area. Is that correct?
No, so I don't. I think it probably would go over and above, but I guess it's working out how far above is allowable or not causing a disturbance.
Well, that's the question that I'm asking. What is allowable? Do you know?
I mean, I wouldn't know. I suppose it. I mean, I don't have a level to measure it, but I suppose if you were in your house with your windows closed and you couldn't hear anything, that seems like a reasonable level. The same way as you could live near a main road or something that might be loud traffic, and then once you're inside your house and you've shut your doors and windows, you can barely hear it. That seems like that would be enough not to disturb people, especially in the winter. But yeah, but no, yeah, I'll be happy to hear.
Okay, thank you for that. I would have thought there would be some number of decibels, but anyway. Another question I have, though, would you be prepared to consider other mitigating measures? For example, I don't know, having a smaller number of people there, so you might need to, you might be able to keep noise down that way, or finish earlier so as not to disturb residents later at night?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we could consider having less people there, but I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, I suppose we wouldn't have to turn up if there were, say, 100 less people. I would be happy to go finish the event earlier. The reason we went till 12 is when we spoke to Colin, he said, oh, yeah, we're happy to go till 12. But then obviously we hadn't applied for the 10s or anything. So it's obviously the council's say as it's an outdoor area. So I would be happy to finish the event earlier if that helps.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, now is a chance for responsible authorities to put questions to the applicant. Mark, Ralph.
Thank you, Chair. I'll defer to Ralph, who may have some technical questions on some of what he's heard.
As I said before, it can be quite complicated, and good management of outdoor spaces and outdoor events in terms of noise does require an acoustician's understanding of how to measure the background noise levels and how to predict, depending on the distance from the source to the receiver. It requires an acoustic understanding of the types of levels of music, the overall volume, and particularly the bass, because for I think you're going to be playing reggae music, and the components of reggae music is very bassy, and bass frequencies are very difficult to control. Often we would ask sound engineers to incorporate a graphic equalizer that can manage frequencies at below 250 hertz. And I would imagine if you haven't got acoustic expertise around you, then you're going to have to resort to the human ear. So if you do your sound check and you stand at the residential areas, the sensitive areas, and listen, if you can hear it, you're going to have to make a reasonable judgment about what the residents in those homes and houses would hear. And bass frequencies are large waves, they're large frequencies, and they travel far. So I would imagine that the bass element, even if you brought the levels down, the bass is going to be a challenge for you without having a building to contain it. So you're going to need to look carefully at controlling the bass.
Is that a question? I mean, I suppose the question arising from that is how would you control the bass?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the sound system would have a graphic EQ as well as a lot of digital controls like dynamic EQ and stuff. Things like the bass frequencies above a certain level could actually be compressed down and then turned down. That will be all there within that system. There will be the capability to do that. And yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to do it by ear. From what I remember, maybe they hadn't turned up when I was there at the last event in this space. We couldn't really hear it. We could hear it sort of when we got to the entrance of the business park, and that was mainly the bass. And so I suppose it would be standing at points like that and just EQing the bass out, because it could be just with the way the space is, it could be a certain notch of frequencies, which is probably why you're suggesting the graphic EQ. And just notching that out, so then the feeling for the rest of the crowd is more or less maintained, but those harsh points that whatever bounces around in that space would be the ones to drop out. Yes, I mean we'd have the technology to do that if needed. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions for the applicant from the responsible authorities? No. Okay, thanks very much. So now I'm going to ask for all parties to sum up their case, and we start with the responsible authorities. Mark.
Thank you, Chair. So Gangs Unite obviously do some very important work, and we'd be very keen to support them in running these events. However, today I still haven't heard any information that would give me some reassurance that they can run this event without causing some disturbance to those residents that live nearby. However, the event is still over a month away, so should you choose to issue a counter notice, the applicant still has the opportunity to provide us with a detailed noise management plan prior to the submission of a further temporary event notice ahead of the event at the end of October. There's some time we can provide some advice, but they may need to go and get their own independent advice with regards to noise management controls. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And Mr. Hewitt, would you like to sum up your case?
Yeah, I suppose the kind of conclusion of this meeting is sort of I've been given a few options that I didn't consider before as far as mitigating noise, and I would be happy to do that. I'd like to ask you, is the noise management team, is there an option to actually hire the noise management team to actually help manage the noise at this event, or would I have to go to an external acoustician? Like if I just put some budget aside to actually hire someone to do it professionally that isn't a sound engineer but an actual acoustician?
Yeah, it'd have to be external.
It'd have to be external.
Because we regulate, and we would be
Oh,
the people
right,
that are regulating and taking enforcement action if required. So we wouldn't be able to provide that service for you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So I would be able to get an external acoustician. So I suppose in summary, my sort of feeling for this event, just because of the outdoor space and the bass frequencies, it might be worth just putting some money aside to hire a professional acoustician that can help us manage it. And that's, I suppose, my next step is to look into that. Yeah, I suppose that's my summary.
Thank you very much for that. I think we've heard a lot. We've, done some toing and froing and sort of taken forward the application. And now the committee will retire to make its decision. And I think that's all we have to say at the moment, Mr. Hewitt. Thank you very much for coming to this hearing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks.
Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
What will happen now is that committee members will retire to a private Teams meeting, which I am immediately about to send. And then once the committee has come to a decision, we'll hopefully bring everybody back together and announce the decision of the subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Okay. I'm reading this off another screen, which is why I may not be looking at you all the time. This is an application for a temporary event notice, 10, under Part 5 of the Licensing Act 2003. The application is dated 1st September 2022, and it is for a 10-hour period of live music from 1400 hours on the 29th of October 2022 until 1 minute to midnight on the same day. The applicant describes the event as a reggae showcase in celebration of Black History Month. This will be a free event where we will donate a portion of bar profits to the Gangs Unite CIC organisation to support them in the work they do for the community. There is no premises licence for what we shall call the premises. The question for us is whether the grant of the 10 is consistent with the licensing objectives, in particular, the prevention of public nuisance. The Environmental Health Services at the London Borough of Waltham Forest have objected to the grant of the temporary event notice. They point to a previous 10 at the premises, namely on the 23rd of July 2022, which attracted complaints from neighbouring residents on Lancaster Road and Clarence Road. An officer attended a subsequent event at 10:30 p.m. on the 21st of August 2022 and noted that the event was, quote, extremely loud and disturbing, quote. On that basis, the Environmental Health Enforcement Team concludes that, and I quote, the premises outside space is completely unsuitable for any amplified music to take place. If the event were to go ahead, it would inevitably give rise to a statutory nuisance as defined by the Environmental Protection Act 1990, close quote. As a preliminary point, the applicant got in touch with Mr. Xavier on 19 September 2022 to inform him that they are working on a noise management plan. Unfortunately, the LSC did not have a copy of that plan. Oh, the licensing committee did not have a copy of that plan until the morning of the hearing. While each application is judged on its merits, the licensing authority notes that if there is a noise complaint, it may be difficult for the Environmental Health Enforcement Team to find that the grant of the 10 will not be contrary to the objective of preventing nuisance without such a plan. In the future, proactive discussion with the Environmental Health Enforcement Team would be of assistance for all parties concerned. We propose to refuse the 10 for the following reasons. First, we are not satisfied that the noise management plan would address the risk of public nuisance as a result of the 10. We note that it was drafted by the applicant himself and not an expert noise consultant or person who will be responsible for monitoring and managing noise levels. It contains no baseline measurements of the area, no assessment of what noise levels are anticipated as a result of the event, no assessment what noise levels would be unacceptable in the area. Although we do note that what would be acceptable would hinge in part on the fact that the event is for a limited period of 10 hours on a Saturday, although some of those hours would be in unsociable hours. And no concrete mitigation measures that would proactively prevent nuisance. Rather, the plan is essentially reactive. The applicant would propose to run the event and, it appears, reduce noise levels to an appropriate but undefined level if there were complaints. That is not in view of the previous incident at the temporary events, which are not disputed by the applicant, sufficient to prevent the noise nuisance. Second, we are not satisfied as to who will be responsible for managing the noise levels from the event, although the applicant has provided an email to Perception Live, who are, the applicant says, professional event managers with knowledge of how to operate temporary events. However, the licensing authority is unable to place much weight on that email. It does not refer to the event on the 29th of October, but refers instead to an event on the Sunday, 11th of September. Furthermore, there is no response from Perception Live confirming that they will in fact provide the sound system and relevant professional expertise to manage the temporary event. Third, it is not clear what the sound system will actually be. This makes it difficult to assess the nuisance risks of the temporary event and to dispute the Environmental Health Service's objection. While the applicant also explains the previous temporary events had 3 sound systems and this temporary event will have only 1, the licensing authority is unable to place much weight on this because it is unable to see how this will be enforced. And in any event, there is nothing other than the assertion of the applicant that there will in fact only be 1 sound system. This difficulty is compounded by the fact that the noise management plan states that the full specification of the sound system is, quote, to be confirmed. The licensing authority is conscious of its duty under the Equality Act 2010 to have due regard to protected characteristics, which include race. The licensing committee is alive to the importance of Black History Month and to the fact that the nature of the event is likely to be attractive to Black and/or Afro-Caribbean people. While the licensing authority's decision is firmly rooted in the prevention of nuisance, and we consider that the grant of the temporary event notice would not lead to public nuisance given the noise management plan, the licensing authority's decision is fortified by its obligations under the Equality Act 2010 as a public authority. The application of the public sector equality duty in subsequent cases will, however, be fact sensitive, and our conclusion on this point is confined to this particular application. Finally, the licensing authority should emphasise that it has carefully considered the objection made by the noise control team. Each application for a temporary event notice will be judged on its own merits. We are heartened by the fact that the applicant was obviously willing to engage with the Environmental Health Services and had suggested a number of improvements, including setting aside money for expert acoustic input. We note that under the Licensing Act 2003, the application for a standard temporary event notice need be made only more than 10 days before the event. That would, if the applicant wishes, give sufficient time for the applicant to refine the application and resubmit it. It would then be considered, if objected to by the Environmental Health Services or any other responsible authority, on its own merits. For the reasons above, we decide to refuse this temporary event notice. We make a counter notice to that effect under section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003. Thank you. I believe this will be sent to you in writing, Mr. Hewitt, very shortly. Is that correct, Christopher?
Yes, we will send around obviously a copy of that to all parties, and we'll publish the counter notice on the public site.
Okay, I think that's our business concluded for today. Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And yeah, that's it. Thank you and goodbye. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.